Hello world travelers and adventure seekers. In today's video, we're diving deep into the top 10 countries where American travelers might not feel quite at home in 2024. From political tensions and humanitarian crises to strict travel advisories, there are places where the welcome mat is more of a please stay away sign. So grab your notepad and stay tuned as we uncover the realities of traveling to these destinations. Let's jump into the countdown. 10. Myanmar. This Southeast Asian country has a population of nearly 55 million and has not been friendly to American travelers in recent years. Following the military coup in February 2021, Myanmar has experienced widespread civil unrest and armed conflicts. According to a report from The Diplomat, the U.S. government has a travel advisory against visiting due to arbitrary enforcement of laws and limited healthcare availability. Moreover, ongoing U.S. sanctions contribute to the chilly reception of American tourists. 9. Yemen, with approximately 30 million residents. This has been a war-torn nation since 2015, leading to one of the world's worst humanitarian crises. The United Nations has reported that around 24 million people, including nearly 13 million children, are in need of humanitarian assistance. The U.S. State Department has issued a strong do not travel advisory, citing risks of abduction and terrorism. So unless you've always wanted to add kidnapped in a foreign land to your bucket list, I'd recommend finding a different travel destination. After all, nobody wants their vacation photos to include a ransom note. In the 8th spot is Somalia, which has about 15 million inhabitants. A combination of political instability and security issues makes it a precarious place for visitors. In recent years, U.S. military action, including the deployment of troops to combat al-Shabaab, has increased tensions. The Council on Foreign Relations has declared a chilling reality. This group continues to pose a formidable threat in the region, casting a long shadow over safety and stability. With their ominous influence looming, one must tread carefully in these perilous times. The visa process is highly challenging and often deters potential tourists. Slipping into number 7 is Venezuela, home to over 28 million people. The relationship between the U.S. and Venezuela has been fraught with economic sanctions and political instability. Data from the World Bank indicates that approximately 7.7 million people have fled the country due to dire economic conditions, driven by hyperinflation and scarcity of basic goods. For American travelers, obtaining a visa can be a complex ordeal, and the political climate can create an atmosphere of cautiousness around foreigners. Coming in at number 6 is Libya, a country that's been through more plot twists than a season of Game of Thrones. As of 2024, Libya boasts a population of about 7 million people. The U.S. Department of State currently has a do not travel advisory for Libya due to a variety of dangers including crime, terrorism, civil unrest, kidnapping, and armed conflict. The relationship between the U.S. and Libya has been a roller coaster, especially after the 2012 attack on the U.S. mission in Benghazi. This event was a turning point leading to heightened security concerns and making Libya a tough cookie for American travelers. The visa process is super tough. Americans looking to explore Libya face stringent visa requirements, and the fact that the Libyan government doesn't allow entry to passports bearing Israeli stamps adds another layer of complexity. Syria is a country with a rich culture and history, sadly overshadowed by conflict in recent years. With a population grappling with the realities of civil war, Syria is another spot where Americans might find the welcome mat rolled up. The U.S. has slapped a level 4 travel advisory on Syria, citing risks of terrorism, civil unrest, kidnapping, and armed conflict. The Syrian government's stance towards Americans is hostile, thanks to a complicated geopolitical chess game involving sanctions, military actions, and diplomatic standoffs. The visa process for Americans wanting to step into Syria is like finding a needle in a haystack. The hoops and hurdles in the application process reflect the strained relations between the two countries. If you somehow manage to get in, the environment can be less than welcoming due to the ongoing conflict and general suspicion towards foreigners, particularly Americans. Afghanistan tops many lists of countries where Americans might not be welcomed. With a population of about 38 million, this country has been a focal point of geopolitical tensions for decades. The U.S. Department of State currently recommends that U.S. citizens do not travel to Afghanistan due to terrorism, risk of wrongful detention, kidnapping, and crime. Multiple terrorist groups are active and Americans are prime targets for kidnapping and wrongful detentions. The visa process for Americans wanting to enter Afghanistan is daunting. U.S. citizens must have a valid passport and Afghan visa to enter and exit. Those arriving without a valid visa face deportation or confiscation of their passport and heavy fines. The relationship between Afghanistan and the United States has layers, with moments of cooperation and mutual support, but the overarching narrative, especially post-2001, has been one of tension and conflict. Iraq, with a population hovering around 40 million, has had a tumultuous relationship with the United States. It all began with the 2003 U.S.-led invasion under the pretext of weapons of mass destruction. The visa process for Americans is like trying to solve a Rubik's Cube blindfolded. Americans can get visas on arrival at airports, but getting an exit stamp in your passport can be super tricky. The security situation is like walking on a tightrope over a canyon, with reports of government officials employing torture and other inhumane treatments, and the presence of various armed groups. These factors contribute to a sense of unease for Americans thinking of visiting. Iran, with a population hovering around 83 million, is a land of ancient history and breathtaking landscapes, but complicated relations with the United States. The U.S. State Department slaps a Level 4 travel advisory on Iran, citing risks of terrorism, civil unrest, and arbitrary arrest and detention of U.S. citizens. The visa process for Americans is like running a gauntlet. Expect to wait anywhere from 1 to 3 months just to hear back on your application. Once you do manage to get that visa and land in Iran, don't expect to swipe your Visa or MasterCard at the local bazaar. International credit and debit cards are not a thing here, so you better stuff your pockets with cash. Finally, topping our list is North Korea, officially known as the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, or DPRK. With a population hovering around 25 million, this country remains a geopolitical anomaly. The tumultuous saga between the United States and North Korea reads like a gripping thriller, rife with political intrigue, nuclear brinkmanship, and a conflict that, while paused, remains frozen in time since the armistice of 1953. Decades of hostility have fostered an atmosphere thick with suspicion, as the North Korean regime, led by the enigmatic Kim Jong-un, continues to amass a formidable arsenal of nuclear weapons, openly threatening not only its neighbors, but the very shores of America. As talks between leaders have crumbled like fragile paper in a storm, the specter of war looms ever larger, haunting the dreams of those who recall the Korean War, a conflict that cost millions of lives and left the peninsula scarred and divided. The once vibrant regions of Korea stand in stark contrast to the oppressive atmosphere of the North, where citizens are subjected to harsh regime control and limited freedoms, and where the presence of Westerners is met with suspicion and hostility. Given this volatile backdrop, it is imperative for Americans to reconsider any travel plans to this unpredictable land. The U.S. State Department has consistently issued stark warnings against travel to North Korea, citing the risks of arbitrary arrest, detention, and the sheer unpredictability of the regime. The chilling reality is that even well-meaning visitors can find themselves ensnared in a web of bureaucracy and manipulation, at the mercy of a government that views outsiders with skepticism. Since September 1, 2017, the U.S. has banned its citizens from using their passports to enter North Korea except under very specific circumstances. Visiting North Korea as an American is like walking on eggshells while blindfolded. The stringent visa process, the potential for misunderstanding leading to detention, and the overall atmosphere of surveillance make it a challenging destination. In summary, these 10 countries present significant challenges and potential risks for American travelers. Political tension and security concerns can make visiting these places daunting. If you're interested in enhancing your travel safety knowledge, Be sure to check out our upcoming videos. We'll be diving into important insights and discussions about safety in various locations around the world. Don't miss out on valuable information that can help you stay informed and prepared for your next adventure.